On this episode, we visit Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, where a task force is looking at safe routes to school. Then we talk with the nutritionist about the importance of walking to the health of individuals. Finally, we talk with a businessman about the importance of walking to the health of Main Street. Stay tuned. We're in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, talking with Sally Hulbert. What's been your involvement with walking?
Well, I am the leader providing leadership for what's called our Safe Routes to School planning process that we initiated about a year ago. So I'm taking a group of stakeholders, all volunteers in the community, and leading them through a strategic planning process so we can develop a plan for implementing a Safe Routes to School program in Mechanicsburg.
Why is it important to have a plan and not just go out and do something?
Well, I guess one of the biggest reasons would be is there's a lot of education that has to happen. We're trying to engage multiple stakeholders, the school district, and that's Mechanicsburg School District. That includes 3 different municipalities in Pennsylvania, so we have to work with local municipal leadership. That also involves 3 police departments. So there's a lot of entities, stakeholders that need to get involved that have never heard about Safe Routes to School, so we use the planning process as a means for education. Plus, when we go for funding, it helps to have done your research, looked at your background inventory, and we have a basis for what we're asking for. So we've identified issues in our community, we've looked at needs, we've done that by different types of public outreach, given different people opportunities to provide input, including students. That all comes together in this strategic plan, and then we can refer to that when we're asking for funding. It usually helps to have that completed.
Now, what are the different stages you go through in your planning and then your implementation?
Well, it's in 4 phases, and we start out our planning process with doing a background inventory or background assessment. And for us, that's been to do some actual mapping in our neighborhoods and in the school zones to identify where there's missing sidewalks or where sidewalks needed to be repaired. We identified dangerous intersections, places where we have an issue with traffic speeds. We also did a survey with walkability to the elementary school students. We did a parent transportation questionnaire because we wanted to know how kids were getting to school, what percentage were actually walking, and that sets a benchmark for us. So we'll in order to see how we're doing once we start implementation, and our overall goal is to increase the number of kids walking to school. We'll know where we started from, and then we can keep monitoring to see, like in 5 years, are we increasing the numbers? Have we accomplished some of our goals to get more kids walking to school? So we did those surveys. Our task force committee went out with cameras and took pictures all over the walking neighborhoods and captured places where they thought there was issues with physical conditions of the neighborhoods and where we might want to address improvements, whether it's traffic calming or repairs to sidewalks or improvements to crosswalks, that kind of thing.
Okay, that's the first step, and then the next steps?
Next step. Once we get all that background information, we start to develop what's called a needs assessment. And we do that. We did some focus groups. We looked at community assets and then also constraints. And then we're going to write a memorandum. We're actually in the process of doing that now that pulls together all that background information. And it's really our issue identification list. And then we use that to further develop our goals and then objectives. That takes us through almost to phase 3. And then we start to develop strategies to address all of our issues. So phase 4 then, once we develop our strategies, write that out into a strategic action plan, is to do implementation. And that will involve multiple stakeholders over short-term, long-term, and mid-term time periods. And we see this as an ongoing program once it gets implemented, and we'll need support and help from not only parents, but teachers, school district administration, local law enforcement, municipal officials, business owners. This is a state route that we're standing on, and we get a lot of tractor trailer truck traffic through town, so we're hoping to work with the truck dispatchers to see if they can't try to get the trucks to move out on the major interstates instead of sending them through our small towns. So those are things that we're starting to identify in our strategies. And strategies really detail the specific action steps to meet your goals and objectives.
And what sort of reception have you had from the public that's been showing up at your meetings? Are they excited about getting something done?
Yeah, we've had great response from the public. Our meetings are usually attended by, say, 10 to 15 to 18 people. We had a great response early when we started this with piloting the International Walk to School Day celebration, and had good support from the school district administration to pull that event off. We've asked for data from the police departments about where they have issues with speeding, and they've provided us with that background information. The media has been very good, writing some articles and watching our progress. Parents, we got a lot of response with those transportation surveys that we sent out. So I would say in general, we are getting good community support, but we have a lot of work to do. Because one of the big issues that we're uncovering is that there's this overall fear and perception of parents that it's not safe for their kids to walk to school, and rightly so. There are some issues that we have to identify, but there's some parents that absolutely just would never let their child walk to school, even though they might be within a certain distance. They just have in their mind that there's a stranger danger issue and their child will get nabbed off the street. So that is one issue that we know we'll have to address through education, and also educating kids how to be safe pedestrians. I think in today's culture, a lot of kids aren't being taught how to be a safe pedestrian, and I know that's not part of the curriculum at school, so we'll be looking to that as a strategy. How do we teach kids to be safe? How do we engage parents to teach their kids to be safe, and then so they get more comfortable and actually allow their kids to walk to school.
Now, what's the experience been for your family in terms of your kids being able to walk places?
Well, since we moved into Mechanicsburg Borough, and that was the reason why we moved into a small town from previously living in the suburbs where we had to drive our children to most of the destinations that they needed to go to. It's been great. They can walk to the grocery store and get us milk if we need it. They can go over to their baseball games or go to the pool because we live very close to the park. Mechanicsburg Borough is a small, older town, traditional style. It was built, in the early 1900s, late 1800s, so it's has higher densities with a very well interconnected street network. So that helps facilitate walkability. We have younger children. We won't let them cross the street, for instance, without walking with an adult. But there's enough ways for them to get around that they don't necessarily need to cross a major street. So it's really made our life easier because we don't need to put them in the car every time we go somewhere. They can get to some places on their own, including some shops downtown where if they want to go to the pizza shop, they can do that, or to friends' houses. They can walk to most of those locations.
We're in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, talking with Jake and Elliot. How did you two just get home from school?
We walked.
Yeah.
Do you always walk home from school?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you like walking home from school?
Yes.
And you all moved to this neighborhood just a couple of years ago. Is it easier to get around now than where you used to live?
Not really. There are more cars and busy streets.
It's easier, except it's a little bit easier.
Could you walk places where you lived before?
Not really.
No.
What can you walk to here?
To stores and restaurants, other places that you can
Yeah.
just. Is it hailing?
Yes, we're in the middle of a hailstorm. And you're with the safety patrol.
Yes.
How long have you been with the safety patrol?
I just started this year at school.
What kind of things do you see drivers doing?
they like sometimes they don't stop for us when we like want to cross, and they just go really fast. And it's just kind of hard to get around.
Yeah, I mostly see like people either going really fast when somebody's trying to go, or somebody just like not being careful and just speeding right through the town.
So if there are any drivers out there watching this program, what would you tell them?
Go slower and watch out for pedestrians.
And look at the signs that say stop, speed limit, stop for pedestrians.
We're in Upper Allen Township talking with Paul Rigney. What is the Safe Routes to School Task Force?
It was a group of people who recognized the need several months ago, perhaps a whole year ago, for kids to be given a chance to walk to school, to make it accessible for kids, to make it enjoyable for kids to walk to school. And in doing that, they recognize that there's a number of stakeholders involved in bringing that about. And so where we are right now is trying to form sort of a strategic plan as to who the stakeholders are, what we may expect of them, and to bring their thoughts and ideas to the forefront. The township that we're in, Upper Allen, was basically a farming community for many years, and its attitude towards sidewalks and the like was they were unnecessary. But we have become, like so many parts of the United States, suburban sprawl. And now what we're trying to do is sort of reimpose a way of getting about town or to school that you and I grew up with and took for granted. We need to do more in the way of zoning and whatnot to break down barriers to people to walk to school and to walk throughout the community. And we've come up with a number of ideas. I don't know if Sally had mentioned to you the walking school bus, where an adult would take several children and walk with them to school so that their parents would feel safe. Because there's been sort of I think a cultural shift over the last few years that there is a real fear and danger of allowing your child to walk to school. We have people who actually drive their child to school who only live a quarter of a mile away from here. And I think that just adds to traffic congestion. Actually, children have found are usually generally safer in walking to school and taking a bus or riding. And the congestion around schools has become a real problem, with so many people wanting to drop their child off, and they want to drop them off as close to the front door as possible. And they're in competition with buses and with children on bicycles and those few children who seem to walk to school, that I think it's a prescription for disaster. So hopefully through the task force, we'll be able to bring about a more pedestrian-friendly town and school district.
And when you first started going to task force meetings, what job did you end up with?
Well, I went as sort of an interested bystander, so to speak, and I sat in on the first meeting, and they asked if anyone was interested in doing some data collection. They had done surveys of all the parents of all the middle school and elementary school children, and they needed someone to sort of enter all this into an Excel spreadsheet and start drawing some conclusions. And we're not quite finished in the data collection, but we have a comments section with the survey form that has sort of been somewhat enlightening as to what people's thoughts are about the whole process of safe routes to school. Some people have actually seen it as a subterfuge in a way to eliminate school buses, and we know that eliminating school buses is not our intent. Generally speaking, we think that anybody who lives a mile and a half or less from a school should consider walking, and that's provided, of course, there's a safe route, that there's a sidewalk for those kids to walk on. So we're not suggesting that in any way to get rid of buses. That was not one of the things. The other aspect that came out was, and I suppose the biggest one was, by and large, nearly everyone who made a comment that people don't stop at crosswalks. Drivers don't obey the crossing guards. They actually ignore them, which I found hard to believe, but so it is the case, I guess. And that sometimes the crosswalk, the guard actually leaves before some of the children can get to the crosswalk, or appears too late for some children. So we've got to work on the timing of that. We want to involve more police officers in helping calm traffic down around these crosswalks, because I'd say speeding traffic, heavily congested intersections are probably the major reason why adults are telling us they don't let their child walk to school.
So where does it all go from here? How do you address problems like that?
Well, we're going to hopefully have a series of meetings with the various stakeholders, which is the school district officials, the police departments. Mechanicsburg Borough and Upper Allen are side by side, and we are all in the same school district. So we're hoping that we can get the police to be members of the task force, perhaps on an ad hoc basis whenever we're talking about traffic. I'm a newly appointed commissioner in Upper Allen Township, and with other commissioners now, we have really recognized the need to require developers who are developing new areas of the town, housing developments, to put in sidewalks. For many years, because we pictured ourselves as a farming community, we didn't, previous administrations didn't see the need for sidewalks. And with the level of childhood obesity, and more adults seem to want to walk. We get more people who come to our meetings who are happy to hear that we are insisting upon sidewalks. So it's an opportunity to provide safe routes to school, but also to allow adults more opportunities to walk. So we need to involve the police. We need to change some of our zoning laws, involve the PTOs, some neighborhood. Our township has quite a few active neighborhood associations, and we'd like to get them involved in the process as well. We need some volunteers. We're going to need volunteers for some of these walking school bus programs, and I think there's a sufficient number of retired people in the area that I think that might work. So I think it has a chance, but I don't think unrealistic enough to realize that we can't incorporate the whole township. I mean, some of these kids live 3 and 4 miles away from this school that we're standing in front of. We don't expect them to be walking. But whenever possible, I think we need to involve as many people in getting those children within a 1.5 mile area of the school that they go to consider walking. And if we can either get them to walk, or I neglected to mention bike to school. If we could provide some safe barrier between the roadway and where these kids are walking and biking, so their parents feel comfortable letting them go, I think either biking or walking, I think we're going to be a long way towards our goal.
We're in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, talking with Kim Wolf.
Hello.
How long were you school crossing guard?
Approximately 9 years.
How'd you get started on that?
I started walking my children every day to school, and I had a lady that wasn't able to make all of her crossings sometimes, so I would just do it for her, and I would sub for her.
What sort of training do you have to go through to become a crossing guard?
I guess being a parent, knowing how to cross the kids, that's what kind of training there was available.
And over all those years you were a crossing guard, I guess the first with the kids, what sort of things did they do that you had to watch out for, and how do you handle kids?
Well, kids can be very impulsive, so what you have to do is really watch their mannerisms, how they are. You get to know the kids, and then you get to implement, I guess, safety lines and different rules and stuff like that to meet the kids' needs.
And what sort of things did you see drivers doing?
Well, they don't obey the crossing walks. Any of the crosswalks that you have, they really kind of drive right through and ignore you trying to cross school children, and they speed. They sometimes don't see the bright yellow vest and the big stop signs, so that's another one that's a hard one. They drive right through you sometimes.
We're in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, talking with Ed Ruth. What is this street we're on?
Race Street. Race and Factory, to be exact.
What's it like for kids trying to walk to school along Race?
Well, it's pretty good, except the sidewalks are only halfway finished here, and they paved the street, put curves in, but never paved the pavements in. So if in the wintertime you have to walk them out in the street to get them to school, which is a hazard. Otherwise, it's pretty good shape, besides the sidewalks not being here.
What do you think it'll take to get the sidewalks built?
Well, I don't know, because one side, place there's no sidewalk, belongs to the borough, so I don't know what it's going to take. At one time they came out that were supposed to be payments all through Mechanicsburg, but so far I don't think it's working.
What other sorts of hazards do children have trying to get to school in town?
Well, the cars travel pretty fast in this area. There goes one right now up the street. There's no stop sign there, so they fly up and down, take the shortcuts to get out in the main street, and you have that problem. The speed limit, I don't know exactly, but it's probably 25, and they're usually going 35 or 45 miles an hour here.
We're in Upper Allen Township, Pennsylvania, talking with Barbara Rigney, who's a registered dietitian. Just what is a registered dietitian?
Registered dietitian is a nutrition specialist who's studied nutrition undergraduate, graduate school, taken a test and become registered with the American Dietetic Association. And generally your hospitals, your wellness centers all employ registered dietitians. It's the standard to look for when you look for a dietitian.
Why would you be interested in walking?
We are seeing more and more overweight people in this country, and more children particularly who are overweight. And part of the reason is due to their food habits, of course, but another reason that we're seeing so many overweight children is that they're exercising less and especially walking less than they did a generation ago.
How does the health profession approach a problem like that? What do you do?
What do we do? Well, of course, my job particularly is to see people of all ages who are having problems, some just because they're overweight, and some seeing the effects of their obesity and being overweight, causing high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, all sorts of health problems. And a lot of times I see them when it's too late and they're trying to treat their problems. But hopefully we'd like to prevent the population from having weight problems and health-related diseases by encouraging them to maintain a healthy weight. And part of that is eating well, but the other part is spending the calories through exercise. And walking is a great way to exercise. It doesn't take expensive equipment. It's easy. Everyone knows how to do it. You don't need to be a good athlete to walk around the block. And to walk places gives people incentive why to get out and walk.
And is that key, getting people to walk places rather than just circling a track somewhere?
In my personal opinion, it is. If you have to get from here to there and walking is the way you're going to get there, you do it every day. You do it if it's raining, if it's hot, if it's cold. That's the way you get to school or you get to your job. You have to get there, and there are very few exceptions why you wouldn't be able to walk. If you're walking around a track and it's a little cloudy, might rain, I'll do it tomorrow. You don't get the exercise in. Maybe if you're exercising on a track or a treadmill, you might walk longer or farther, but you don't get that consistent exercise on a regular basis.
We're in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, talking with Jeff Van Boskirk. What is your involvement with walking issues?
Well, the walking issues in town, we have a small organization with downtown merchants, and we call it the Foot Traffic Committee. Basically, we work with the Chamber of Commerce and Main Street Mechanicsburg Revitalization, and we are the promotions committee that does a lot of the events. And most of our events are revolved around people walking through the town to different merchants and through the events. And the issues we have are with the amount of traffic that goes through, the speed of the traffic, and the people that don't pay attention to the people in the crosswalks.
Why is foot traffic important to business?
Well, in our area, a small town like this, we have a lot of specialty stores. And the specialty stores need to have the people coming in. It's sort of like a strip mall, but it's the whole town. So they're not in one place that people can go from place to place to place undercover. They have to be able to cross the streets and move from one side of the street to the store on the other side of the street, maybe down around the block, and cross at the main street to get to the stores around the block. It's not just one street, it's multiple streets.
What sort of things have you been looking at to help your customers who are walking in town cope with all the traffic going through town?
Well, one of the things we tell the customers is just to be careful. We have a lot of trucks that come through, 18-wheelers, that actually, to go from one interstate to the next interstate, they drive straight through Mechanicsburg. That's a big issue because the streets are not really wide enough for them. The other thing is just to be careful that people don't pay attention to the sidewalks and the street crossings that are supposed to be where the cars stop and let the pedestrians go through first.
And do the cars stop?
Not usually. I've seen it more and more now since we do have some signs out in the middle of the street, please watch, and the pedestrians have the right of way. But still on some of the streets like Market Street here, they just go pretty fast through here. Even though it's a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit and the street's not very wide, they still go pretty fast.
So what the events you hold over the course of the year, what's involved in organizing those and what makes a successful event?
Well, we have to decide on first if we need to close a street or not close a street. Most of our streets that we deal with are state roads, so they're a little harder to close. It costs a little bit more money to close them. We do several events. We do an art walk. We do concerts that are on the square. We do Streets of Treats, which are actually for the kids, so the kids are crossing the street. And the more and more stores that we get that open up, the more and more problem we have with people trying to get across the street, and we're trying to make the drivers aware that they are responsible for stopping and letting the pedestrians cross.
Visit us on the internet at www.pedestrians.org.